welcome into week 3 of DFS, everyone. This is the Adjusted Line Play Report presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. I am your host, Todd Hoffman. You can find me over on Twitter at Todzilla1337. You can find Zilla Fantasy Elite over on Twitter at Zilla Fantasy. Go give those a check. Hit that follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Let's get week 3 underway. Pretty successful in week 2. I think I either 2 or 3x depending on the particular platform that I was playing on between DraftKings and FanDuel. So highly successful. Let's just jump into it right away, folks. We're looking squarely here at Buffalo versus Miami. We're looking at a Sunday early game. Number 1 game on the slate, 53 game total there for Buffalo and Miami. And really, let's get into Buffalo. Here's the away team. Basically, like last week, you want your studs in there. Be playing them again this week. They should be dominant this week. That's Allen, that's Diggs. We got number 2 offensive pass protection versus Miami's number 4. That might seem like that's a mismatch, but on the DVOA side, Buffalo number 2 on offense, Miami number 31. That's a huge mismatch there. Miami maybe I'll get some pressure on Buffalo, but really if we look at the run side, it's pretty even. 12 versus 16, a little bit in the favor of Buffalo, but then the run DVOA, number 30 for Buffalo, 7 for Miami. They're probably going to be passing the ball. It's going to be another Stephon Diggs week, I'm sure. And then on the Miami side, they're probably going to need a little bit quicker passes to move the ball. And really, that might work for this offense. This is why you see it as the number 1 game total on the slate, 53 there. We do have Miami as 5.5 point home underdogs there. So Buffalo favored on the road there with a 29.25 team implied total. Miami at 23.75. For their offensive side on Miami, we have number 19 in offensive pass protection, but number 7 for Buffalo in the defensive pass rush. They should be able to get after Tua. He's probably going to be under pressure a little bit. Going to mean a little bit quicker passes, which is just fine for Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So just keep that on your burner on the back of your mind. As far as running the ball, Miami number 30, Buffalo number 4. Don't expect any of these running backs to be running the ball. Miami is becoming more of a pass-centric team. The interesting thing is the pace of play for both of these teams is actually pretty low for the most part. The only situation is maybe when Miami there in the green, offensive pace when leading by 7+ is number 8. Otherwise, they're more, in the 14 to 20, mid-20 range there. I don't know if this pace is really going to go back and forth. I'd maybe hit the under on this, especially if Miami's going to be under duress. Maybe you won't see that huge offensive explosion like they did against Baltimore last week, where the Adjusted Line Play Report was saying that you could be successful passing the ball there. We're going to head on to the number 2 game on the slate, which is Detroit at Minnesota. It is a 52.5 point game total there from Vegas. Minnesota are 6-point home favorites, 29.25 team implied total there, just the same as Buffalo, so a team that you're going to want to attack. Detroit coming in at 23.25. And really, the Detroit offense should move the ball. Run game should be efficient yet again. We look at them, number 12 in offensive pass protection, Minnesota number 9 on the defensive pass rush. DVOA suggesting maybe they'll be a little bit more efficient. On the run game, though, Detroit number 21, not super great, but dead last for Minnesota in defensive run stopping, number 32. Defensive run DVOA for Minnesota, number 32. So keep that in mind. You're going to probably like what Minnesota has to offer Detroit in terms of moving the ball on the ground. Detroit number 2 in the run DVOA there. So they're very efficient. Expect that to continue this week. Swift, Jamal Williams there probably in play. And then the passing side, I wouldn't expect that to be too much of a burden for Detroit. If anything, it's going to be a little bit quicker passes, which again, that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can he break the record of most games in a row with 8+ catches? Probably in this. just kind of depends on how well Detroit runs the ball there and the game flow once this game gets underway. On the Minnesota side, the pass game should have plenty of time to throw. Really, the big note of this should be a DFS gold mine for this particular game. Minnesota number 3 in the offensive pass protection versus Detroit number 31 in the defensive pass rush. That's a win. And then Detroit's 30th in stopping the run, even though Minnesota's only 24th in offensive run blocking. But the DVOA is a big mismatch there with Minnesota at 6, Detroit number 23. They might be somewhat efficient or move the ball on the ground a little bit more than they're used to. And then the pass game should excel this particular week for Minnesota. I expect this to be a shootout. We look at the pace. Detroit number 1 in offensive pace in neutral situations. Number 3 when leading by 7+. And then 8th when they're trailing by 7+. So they're green across the board on offense. Minnesota 25th in offensive pace when they're in a neutral situation. Number 6 when leading by 7, and number 8 when they're trailing by 7. So a lot of green across the board. Top 8 actually, matter of fact, except for the one with Minnesota in the offensive pace for neutral situations. Otherwise, this could be an up and down game. Lots of scoring. Like I said, DFS gold mine in this particular week. Next is Kansas City, number 3 game on the slate. Kansas City versus the Colts. We have a 50.5 Vegas total there with Kansas City as 5.5-point road favorites. Team implied total of 28 points. And Indianapolis there, 22.5. With Kansas City coming on the road here, really the pass game should crush and the run game should be serviceable. We look Kansas City pass protection number 4, the DVOA number 3. So top 4 on both those. Indianapolis number 25 defensive pass rush, number 29 defensive pass DVOA. Expect Kansas City to blow Indianapolis's doors off on the pass game, and they aren't afraid to just do that if it's working. Patrick Mahomes, 5-6 touchdowns. We've seen those. This is suggesting it could be one of those games. His weapons aren't as great as they used to be, but still got Travis Kelce there and plenty of other options with speed on the team, as well as Juju kind of underneath there. On the running side, again, run blocking is number 8 for Kansas City, which is good. Indianapolis number 15. DVOA is a little bit flip. Indianapolis number 2, actually. Kansas City 21. So I think the run game will be serviceable, but expect Kansas City to put up a bunch of points through the air in this particular matchup. Those Mahomes stacks going to be very, very enticing for people on this. As far as the Indy side, Colts offense should be able to move the ball, but the DVOA may be suggesting it might not. So offensive pass protection, number 13 versus Kansas City 26. And then the run blocking, number 7 for Indianapolis versus Kansas City, number 27. Those are pretty decent mismatches there. But then we look at the DVOA side, Kansas City number 22 in the pass DVOA on defense versus Indy number 31. They're really bad in offensive pass DVOA. Kansas City number 6 in defensive run DVOA, Indianapolis number 24 in the offensive run DVOA. So it's kind of flip-flop there. Pittman looks like he's going to be back this week, so I trust Indianapolis to be able to actually move the ball a little bit better than what you saw last week. Keep that in mind. Pittman's probably going to be a popular run back on this particular thing. Or not. He's coming back from injury. Indianapolis hasn't been playing very well. Maybe they just kind of avoid this, but certainly one that you can grab some pieces. Kansas City is going to have a lot of one-offs if I'm not stacking that particular matchup, or having the run back of JT or Pittman on the Indy side, and just hoping that they have one of those monster games because it's within their range of outcomes as far as their talent's concerned. So an interesting game there is number 3 on the slate. Let's head over to the number 4 game on the slate, which I believe is Los Angeles Rams at Arizona. Yes, indeed it is. So we're going to take a peek at that. This should be another get-right week for the Rams offense. We look number 7 offensive pass protection, Arizona, number 15. Not a huge mismatch, but in the favor of the Rams. And then number 6 for offensive run blocking for the Rams, number 17 for the Cardinals. They should be able to move the ball fairly efficiently on the Rams side, so expect them to do that. Nothing really sticking out here other than Akers and Robinson in tournaments because they're probably going to be super low rostered. We did see Robinson score a touchdown last week, which we predicted on here. Huge success there, but running backs might see some low rostership percentages there just because they're kind of splitting work evenly. Certainly could be well in play in tournaments there for those two. Avoid them in cash, obviously. On the Rams side, though, they're probably going to be sluggish on offense. Kyler is going to have to work some magic in order for Arizona to compete in this. Number 15 in offensive pass protection versus Rams, number 8. Not a huge mismatch necessarily there, but in the favor of the Rams defense. And then the run blocking, number 26 for Arizona, number 6 for the Rams. Expect them to stop the run no matter who's back there. Got some injuries there to Connor. Could be playing, might be limited, something like that. Just expect it not to be very good on the ground. And then Arizona, Rondale Moore game decision, or ruled out already, I believe, for this week. And just not a ton of weapons there outside of Marquise Brown and maybe Zach Ertz. We have seen, AJ Green struggle, and in his stead, a guy coming out of nowhere, Greg Dortch, coming out of college, highly regarded prospect, but seeing him get some work. And if Arizona's down in this, they're probably going to have to throw the ball. And luckily for us, they're number 9 in offensive pace when trailing by 7+. It's just the Rams are kind of slow when they're leading by 7+, which I expect at number 26. The number of plays ran in this probably won't be humongous, but Vegas game total could potentially see it somewhere in that particular range. We'll move on to the 5th ranked game here, and we're looking here for the Philadelphia-Washington game, which has a lot of interesting pieces this particular year. We have seen some highly successful DFS plays and just people kind of popping off that maybe we weren't expecting at the beginning of the season. So as I said, game rank number 5, Vegas game total 47.5, Philadelphia 6.5 point road favorites, 27 team implied points to Washington's 20.5. And really we were kind of looking, Philadelphia run game will dominate in this. We've seen some of that already. Jalen Hurts, a big reason probably for the DVOA being so high on the offensive running side, just kind of drawing the defenses towards him and off of the running backs. Miles Sanders has been great. Should see that continue. Miles Sanders probably going to have another good game. Good, maybe not great, if Jalen Hurts is kind of stealing those touchdowns from him. He's been hot. He might be a little bit popular going into this as Washington has put up points. This could be a game that quite a few people find themselves pulling some of those pieces out, and maybe they're a little bit more roster than you would expect in a tournament. Just keep that in mind. As far as numbers are concerned there, Philadelphia number 12 in offensive run blocking, Washington number 12, and then offensive pass protection 16th versus Washington number 11. Again, the run game should dominate there, especially on the DVOA side. Philadelphia 3, Washington 31st. Should be pretty successful there. And then the Washington pass attack should have a little bit more time than they're perhaps used to. We're looking at them at a 24 offensive pass protection rank, but Philadelphia number 28 on the defensive pass rush. They are a little bit better in the pass DVOA at number 4 versus Washington 14. So they might find themselves with a little bit more time. Just with Philadelphia there at number 28. And then on the Washington side, number 18 for Philly's defense at stopping the run, Washington number 19, DVOA, both of them at 27 and 29. There's no real takeaway here from the adjusted line play other than, it's an even match, and a lot of times that's, if you have a stud, they're going to do well. Whether or not you think Gibson is that for Washington, who knows? But yeah, a lot of green there in the pace of play situations. Could be an interesting one there, back and forth as well. Just keep that in mind, but it might be popular. Next is Las Vegas versus Tennessee. Let's see where I put that, right above them. All right, and then the 6th ranked game total this week is Las Vegas at Tennessee. We have Las Vegas as 2-point road favorites, 23.75 team implied total, Tennessee 21.75 team implied total, 45.5 game total overall there. Really nothing to glean too much. Tennessee number 10 in both defensive pass rush and defensive run stopping. Las Vegas 18 and 17, somewhat of a mismatch there for the Vegas Raiders. You could see their offense kind of be a little bit sluggish in this game. We've kind of seen them be somewhat sluggish the first 2 weeks here, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how this one plays out. A little bit of a mismatch there, so I just think they're going to struggle moving the ball. You can probably avoid the running backs because of that particular situation. But Devontae Adams might be the one player. Devontae Adams, Waller, guys that can really take over a game would be more likely to have a breakout in these particular scenarios. On the on the Titans side, pretty much the same thing. 26 versus 24 on the pass protection and pass rush in the favor of Vegas there, just 2 off though. And then the run blocking, Tennessee number 16, Vegas number 11. Tennessee has lost Taylor Lewan though, for sure for this game, possibly for the season, which doesn't bode well for their run blocking or their pass protection. Don't expect Tennessee to have a very good game here. I'm going to avoid them pretty much in DFS and not going to play anyone if I can help it. In my season-long leagues or dynasty leagues, probably going to be avoiding that. Henry, if you have a better option, might be worthwhile looking into in this particular matchup. I just think this is gross on their end. Just keep that in mind. Next, we'll get on to the 7th-ranked game, which is Cincinnati at the New York Jets, which should be kind of a fun one here. It's a 45-point game total, number 7 on the slate, as we said. Cincinnati coming in as 6-point road favorites with a 25.5-point team implied total. The Jets at 19.5, so they're below 20. Not too good. Really, the big takeaway, the Bengals, more offensive struggling. I don't know what's going on there. They're number 31 in offensive pass protection and 29th in offensive pass DVOA. On the run blocking side, a little bit better at 15, but then their run DVOA is number 29. They're just not, I don't know what's going on with that offense right now. It hasn't looked, stellar. Hopefully this is a get-right game for the Jets, but really the adjusted line play is suggesting Cincinnati might, struggle or be a little bit more sluggish yet again in this particular matchup. And then on the Jets side, really, you're going to need quicker passes in order to move the ball. That could be more running back targets yet again. It could be Conklin targets, maybe some more of those underneath ones, which who knows on the wide receiver side what's going on there. But we have offensive pass protection for the Jets, number 28, Cincinnati 19. This could be a Cincinnati game, especially if the pace is going to be up. We do see the Jets in neutral pace at number 8 and Cincinnati at 13. If Cincinnati's kind of struggling to move the ball, we could see this game, with a little bit higher pace. And then on the run blocking side, New York Jets 22, Cincinnati number 9. That's a pretty big favor of Cincinnati's defense in play this week, especially if you think New York is going to be passing the ball over 40, 50 times yet again this week. Cincinnati would have plenty of opportunities for sacks, and with the Jets' offensive pass protection being pretty poor, that could happen. And after that, we have Buffalo at New England, which is kind of an interesting game, just in the sense that Bill Belichick always trying to take away player that's the best on the opposite side. That happens to be Lamar for Baltimore, so that should be interesting. It's a 44.5 Vegas game total, with Baltimore coming in at 2.5-point road favorites. 23.5 team implied total for Baltimore, 21-point total for New England. And really on the Baltimore side, it should be similar to week 2, what we saw against the Jets, which would be kind of maybe some quicker passes needed. That would mean Mark Andrews should have a solid week. Last week I kind of said the running backs might get involved with targets, but Baltimore doesn't really, and Lamar Jackson don't really target the running backs in this particular system, so probably not going to happen. It's going to be more Bateman and Andrews there catching the passes. Baltimore number 29 in offensive pass protection, number 14 for New England. Offensive pass DVOA, strangely enough, for Baltimore number 1 and New England number 11. On the run blocking side, Baltimore number 29, New England number 22. Should be very similar to last week with the Jets. There's a very, very similar setup for that. On the New England side, expect the pass game to be solid. I'd really kind of bet the over on this particular matchup, 44.5. We see New England with number 8 offensive pass protection, Baltimore number 30 in defensive pass rush, and then run blocking for the Patriots, number 9, Baltimore number 1 though in stopping the run. I expect, again, the New England pass game to be solid, and that's probably how they're going to end up moving the ball. They're just kind of a slow team. However, throwing the ball, you do stop the clock a little bit more often than you would on offensive run blocking. I would expect Jacoby Myers probably to be popular, especially on PPR websites, but he's really the only pass game option I would be. He's really the only pass game option I'd be considering in this particular matchup. But yeah, could be one of those where you kind of bet the over. Pass game from New England a little bit better. Hunter Henry maybe be a sneaky tournament play to score 2 touchdowns potentially. If you want to go that route, I'm sure almost no one would be playing him. We'll move on to the number 9 game on the slate, which is Jacksonville at the Chargers. It's kind of an interesting one. We see this game over here, number 9 on the slate with a 42.5 point game total, but that's down from almost 48 earlier in the week. Let me see here what it was. Yeah, 47.5. So it's been bet down 5 points. I'm assuming that's the Justin Herbert injury there. And we have Jacksonville at 3-point road underdogs there. So Chargers only a 3-point home favorite, which is really just giving them the standard home bias. But going into this week on Tuesday, Chargers were at 7-point home favorite. So this is a huge movement on Vegas. Pretty much strictly, I'm assuming, concerned with Justin Herbert's rib injury, but that's a lot of movement considering it's looked like he's going to be able to play. Maybe Vegas knows something that we don't, with those people betting so much to get the game total, basically to go down 5 total points, and then the line to go from 7-point home favorites for the Chargers essentially to dead even with a 3-point home favorite there. Just interesting. Chargers 22.75 team implied total. As far as what that was, it was 27.25 prior to that, so it's gone down quite a bit. Jacksonville on the other side gone down a half a point. Now they're at 19.75 team implied total. But really, the offenses should be humming in this, regardless of a injury to Herbert, which I think he'll be fine. Both offenses here should move the ball. We have Jacksonville number 10 in pass protection and the Chargers number 17 in the pass rush. A little bit of a favor there for the Jacksonville offensive line. And then run blocking for Jacksonville number 13. Chargers just give it up on the ground. Number 28 in stopping the run. I think Jacksonville will be able to move the ball on the ground, and they should have a decent amount of time to pass the ball. I don't know what the cornerback matchups are there, but it sounds like Chargers got a pretty good one and might be able to shut down Christian Kirk, which could mean more targets to Zay Jones and Marvin Jones in this particular matchup, or Evan Ingram. Watch out for that. It could be a sneaky tight end play this week. Do like Jacksonville's chances of moving the ball and having some of those second, third, fourth options there in the pass game. Maybe Travis Etienne gets a few more passes if the Chargers can score. Some interesting plays indeed there. The Chargers side, it should be even better. They're number 5 in offensive pass protection. Jacksonville number 27 in the pass rush. And then offensive run blocking for the Chargers, number 10. Jacksonville number 23, although the run DVOA for offense and defense is flipped. Chargers 26, Jacksonville 4 in that department. So a little interesting there on that, but I believe Chargers will move the ball at will. Sounds like Keenan Allen might be a game time decision, but I do like him if he plays. Mike Williams should be good. Eckler, those are the guys you're going to want. Tight end always in play for some of those season leagues. If you didn't get that tight end right away, Gerald Everett, if he's on your waivers, or if you picked him up off the waivers, he should be good in this particular matchup. Then we have two teams tied for 10th. Two games, Atlanta at Seattle, and then Green Bay at Tampa Bay in this particular matchup. So Atlanta at Seattle, 42-point game total, again tied for 10th. Seattle 1-point home favorites at 21.5-point team implied total versus Atlanta 20.5. Let's look at kind of what we got in this particular matchup. Atlanta number 20 in offensive pass protection, and Seattle number 29. Really, the air game should be how they move the ball in this particular matchup, because Atlanta's run blocking's at 20, Seattle number 8 in defensive run stopping. If they're going to move the ball, it's going to be through the air. Maybe Pitts finally gets on track here. I do like him and Drake London really in the pass game. Not much else there. And then on the Seattle side, they might actually move the ball better than they're used to, especially on the ground. We see their offensive pass protection is really poor at 25. However, Atlanta dead last at number 32. And then on the run blocking side, Seattle number 14, Atlanta 29. Seattle probably going to end up running the ball. This could be a really gross game, just a lot of running on Seattle's side, and then Atlanta kind of struggling on that aspect, but maybe being able to move the ball a little bit better in the air. If Seattle gets out to a lead, might be a kind of interesting situation where they just sit on the clock and run the ball and have a lot of success there. This game could get over quick in that aspect. Just keep that in mind. Seattle run game should be where they're moving the ball, and then Atlanta on the passing side should be where you want it. And then also tied for 10th here is Tampa Bay at Green Bay, which is a 1-point home favorite for Tampa Bay, surprisingly. Really a 42-point game total between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Kind of interesting. 21.5-point team implied total for Tampa Bay, 20.5 for Green Bay, similar to the last matchup. And Green Bay's pass game should be able to move the ball actually in this. They're number 6 in offensive pass protection, number 16 in the pass rush for Tampa Bay's defense. Then the run blocking, number 3 for Green Bay, but Tampa Bay number 5. Could be some interesting matchups there, but I think Green Bay is going to have to pass the ball if they're going to want to move it super effectively. I don't know how they're going to do that. It's going to be split between all their pass catchers there. I don't really trust a whole lot of them. Lazard, I think, is the one there. If you're kind of desperate for wide receiver 3, he could be a solid play, especially if Green Bay is not moving the ball on the ground. Look for the running backs to garner a lot of targets in this too, especially if Tampa Bay's number 1 rated pass DVOA can get after the quarterback. But on the Tampa Bay offensive side, the Bucs offense should be solid. Fournette's attractive despite his hamstring injury. Tampa Bay number 1 in offensive pass protection, 20th for Green Bay's defense. And then on the run blocking side, Tampa Bay number 5, 26th for Green Bay's run stopping defense. I think they'll be fine moving the ball in Tampa Bay. It's just that all of their wide receivers are hurt. Godwin's been ruled out. Mike Evans suspended. Gage and Julio Jones are questionable. I expect Gage to play. Julio is probably a game time decision. We will see what happens when it comes game time. I would assume he's going to play hurt, but he might not play the entire matchup. And then you're really down to just Russell Gage and Scotty Miller and a bunch of retreads that, who knows, not super attractive there. Fournette, just because of that reason, probably going to be a massive bell cow in this particular matchup and shoulder, 22 to 27 touches. He's really the only one I'm really interested in this particular matchup. Could be low game total, as I had said, and something maybe to avoid, but as a one-off in this particular game, I like Fournette to kind of round out a lineup, and not expecting a ton of people to be on that particular game. All right, next one is New Orleans at Carolina. They are the 12th ranked game on the main slate, and we have New Orleans going into Carolina as 2.5-point road favorites in this, even with Jameis's bad back. That's for a 41-point game total. 21.75 for New Orleans, 19.25 for Carolina. We see number 3 in defensive pass rush for Carolina's defense. Could be a little bit scary. Really, the big thing to note in this matchup is both defenses should dominate. The Vegas game total at 41 already suggests that's kind of going to be the case, but look for quicker targets in this game from both offenses to kind of be necessary in order to move the ball. Maybe bet the under in this. We look 23 for offensive pass protection on New Orleans, and Carolina's defense, number 3. Carolina, number 7 in the defensive run stopping. New Orleans, number 27 in run blocking. Yuck. Suggesting that's not going to be a good offensive game for New Orleans. On the New Orleans defense, number 6 in pass rush, and Carolina's offense, number 27 in pass protection. So that's even bigger mismatch there on that side. And then the run blocking for Carolina's offense, number 25, New Orleans, number 3 in the defensive run stopping. That's even a bigger one. Both these defenses, again, should dominate. I think they're both in play for DFS. They're both in play for your seasonal leagues. They're not probably owned anywhere. Saints maybe, but Carolina definitely not. I will be playing some Carolina, I believe, in my DFS lineups, maybe sneaking in some Saints there too. The quicker passes, McCaffrey, maybe some Michael Thomas. That's about it. Air yards galore for Olave. He seems to be getting like an 8 out of like 24 yards on 13 targets, which is ridiculous. I don't know if you heard that stat, but he had like over 360 air yards last week. Wouldn't expect that to repeat. I don't know how that got down there. I wouldn't expect that to repeat in this particular matchup without time to throw the ball. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Carolina could have a pretty solid week here in terms of their defense. And then we'll get to the last game on the slate, Houston at Chicago, the most gross one on the main slate. A 39 Vegas game total, similar to Thursday night's game at 38.5, I believe, yesterday. Houston, the underdogs, they're coming into Chicago with a 39-point game total as 3-point road underdogs. 18 team implied points for Houston, which is the lowest, I believe, on the slate. Chicago, 21. And really what we're looking at for here, Chicago defense could be sneaky. It could be good in DFS. Really, the offense on Houston, number 22 in offensive pass protection. Chicago, number 1 in the defensive pass rush. Number 20 in stopping the run for Chicago. So not super great, but Houston dead last at number 32 in the run blocking. Don't expect their run game to be anything, and then Houston's going to have to get the ball out quick in order to be successful. Probably a Rex Burkhead week, if I'm going to be honest. That and underneath passes to the tight ends, and if Brandon Cooks can get those intermediate routes potentially, but really Rex Burkhead would probably be the one off I'd like from the Houston side. And then, again, Chicago defense is in play, but as far as offense is concerned, they're 32nd in offensive pass protection, Houston 23 in the pass rush. Maybe they have a little bit more time than they're used to, but Chicago's pretty bad in that regards. And then run blocking for Chicago, 23, Houston 25. That's kind of a dead even match there. Houston, not very good. Chicago, not very good. Chicago might just find themselves with a little bit more effectiveness in their offense than they're used to, but a little bit more of something that was already pretty poor isn't necessarily something that you're interested in. And really the only piece I would want on this side is the defense for Chicago. So that will do it for the main slate. Let's get to the Sunday night and Monday night games, and then we'll let you go here. We're looking for Sunday night football. San Francisco heading into Denver. San Francisco has 1.5-point road favorites. 22.75 team implied total. Denver 21.25 team implied total. Really what we're going to look for here on the offensive side for Denver is the offensive side for San Francisco is their run blocking should be kind of how they move the ball. It's number 11 versus Denver's number 24th run-stopping defense. And then on the pass side, San Francisco 17, Denver 18. But the DVOA a little bit more in favor of Denver on the pass side. So I think San Francisco is going to have to move the ball on the ground. Pretty much injuries galore over there. Another year, same story there in San Francisco. But Jeff Wilson show, most likely, if he's injured. Expect Marlon Mack to be active in this game. It'd be interesting to see him and how he would do in any sort of scenarios. Otherwise, it's the rookie Jordan Mason. If you think San Francisco is going to be passing the ball, I like Ayuk in this particular matchup. Debo always gets a bunch of running as well. You could see him have success on the ground. Both those guys in play. It sounds like Kittle's back off the injury report, so he should be back. I just don't think he's going to get a ton of work in this. Likely ease him back in with some blocking, right? So on the Denver side, really, it's just looking like another sluggish game, similar to Cincinnati. These guys came in high hopes on the preseason and just haven't delivered yet. Number 5 for the defensive pass rush in San Francisco. Denver's all the way at 21 in offensive pass protection. Huge mismatch in the favor of San Francisco's defense. They are a good play this week. Defensive run stopping, San Francisco number 2, Denver number 18 at running. Again, I think Denver's offense could just be sluggish here. Nathaniel Hackett doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing as far as head coaches are concerned. Just keep that in mind. 44 Vegas game total. I'm actually sitting Russell Wilson this week in one of my Superflex leagues in favor of Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. Never thought I would say that heading into week 3. But here we are. That is the case. They've looked terrible, and this is suggesting that they're not going to look any better in this particular matchup. So keep that in mind. We'll head over to Monday night, which is the Cowboys and the Giants. Ooh, very, very nice. For the public, get the New York squad and get the Cowboys in there. Even uglier game though. 39.5 point Vegas game total. We have Dallas going into Giants as 1 point road underdogs. Giants with a 20.25 team implied total. Dallas 19.25. The interesting thing is here, I think Dallas, I know they're 1 point road dogs. I think they're going to upset in this particular matchup. I think Dallas wins this game because their offense should be able to surprise a lot of people in this matchup. Number 9 in offensive pass protection, Giants 21st. Dallas number 2 in offensive run blocking, Giants 31st in stopping the run. I think this is a Zeke week. I think we see some vintage Zeke in this Monday night matchup. Don't be surprised if he's over 80 yards, has at least 1 touchdown, multi-touchdown, certainly in play if Dallas is moving the ball. I think they trust the run game a little bit closer in the 5 than they do Cooper Rush, so keep that in mind. But if they're successful moving the ball, I could see Zeke, especially in the run game, being very efficient and having a monster game. Should be interesting there. On the Giants side, they're going to have to pass in order to move the ball effectively. I think this is another good Shepherd game. Number 12 for Dallas in the pass rush, Giants 14. So kind of a stalemate there, even though Dallas's pass DVOA is really good. I think Dallas can get after the quarterback. They're going to need a little bit quicker passes, and that's Shepherd. As far as Barkley could see a massive amount of targets with that presumption as well. Dallas, though, at number 13, stopping the run. The Giants' run blocking, though, 31st, one of the worst in the league, second to worst, matter of fact. So not so sure how well Barkley's going to be able to run the ball. He could see the targets there. But if they're not running the ball and the pass game's kind of keeping it underneath, I don't like the Giants' opportunities to score that much. And I think Dallas is going to actually outscore them in this particular matchup. So that will do it for week 3 of DFS, folks. Hope those island games go well for you, and certainly give a follow. Hit me up on Twitter at Todzilla1337. Let me know if you won any money based on my advice in week 2. I certainly did, and we'll see what this week brings. Let's go out and win some money together, folks. Thanks for watching. Bye.